of the repetitive processes that slow your team down could run on autopilot. Imagine tasks like resetting passwords, approving time of requests, or answering routine questions happening instantly and accurately, freeing up your team to focus on more strategic work. Now, that's exactly what agentic workflows can do for you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dayalani. Now, agentic workflows represents a major leap forward in automation. This isn't just a hype. Gartner has named agentic AI one of the top technology trends for 2025. Now, what exactly is agentic AI and why do we need to shift our focus to it? Let's welcome Vikram Bhandari, Chief Technology and Innovation Officer at Riveron. Hi, Vikram. How are you doing?
Good, Priya. Thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to have you with us, Vikram, and we are definitely looking forward to learn about this new trend that has come into the tech space and evolving how we should be changing our operations based on it. So, but before we dive deeper into this conversation, we would like to know more about Riveron. So, if you could help us understand what exactly the company is into, any particular specialization, would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Priya. So I'm Vikram Bhandari. I'm the Chief Technology and Innovation Officer at Riveron. Prior to that, I was the CEO and founder of Yantra, and Yantra got acquired by Riveron last July. I've always been passionate about how technology can solve real business challenges, and at Riveron, that's exactly what we do. Whether it's AI automation or digital transformation, my role here is to help companies navigate change and unlock new opportunities. From a Riveron perspective, Riveron is a business advisory firm specializing in accounting, finance, technology, and operations. We partner with our clients and their stakeholders to elevate performance and expand possibilities across the transaction and business cycle. We are backed by Blackstone, Kohlberg and Company, and HIG Capital.
Great. Thank you for helping us understand about Riveron. Moving ahead, Vikram, I think when we talk about you, you have around 25 years of experience in professional consulting and entrepreneurship. And you also have a diverse set of capabilities to lead the strategy and development of companies across retail, software, technology, and manufacturing industries globally. So, could you tell us more about yourself? How has the journey been till date? And what exactly is your role and contribution towards the company?
While I was building Yantra, one of the things which came across a lot was how do we solve a problem for a CFO or a CIO or a CEO, right? Most of the problems which were stemming top down were business problem, strategic problem, or technology problem. And when we built Yantra, one fundamental thing which we kept in mind was technology cannot scale without understanding the business, cannot scale without having efficient operations. So we weaved all these three things into our offerings, and that's why we typically say that we service the office of the CEO, CFO, and CIO. Technology was very close to my heart. Digital transformation was close to my heart, and I love working with clients to simplify complexity and drive meaningful impact. And that's how Yantra was born. And when we exited, we were looking for the right buyer who would have a similar fabric and DNA as Yantra had.
Right. And I think, it's really important when we're talking about other companies' growth. And I think your journey and impact you have had within the company, whether it's a Yantra and now a Riveron, I think it gives a clear picture of how your leadership and a vision can come together to drive success. And eventually, it's always inspiring to hear about, your journey and the strategic decisions that usually C-level executives take into picture when they're shaping a company's direction. Especially in a space in a tech space which is always dynamic. Moving ahead, I think when we're talking about artificial intelligence, the rapid advancement of a large language AI has opened the floodgates for realistic, responsive, and multi-talented AI assistants. Yet, their actual value lies in the operational integrations versus utilizing large language models as isolated tools. Now, several converging factors make agentic AI workflows particularly compelling now. But can you help our listeners as well as as well as me? I want to understand that what exactly is this agentic AI workflows and what is the hype around it and how it differs from the traditional AI applications.
Oh, absolutely, Priya. One thing before I jump into what is agentic AI and how is it going to help, just wanted to let you know that in the last 1 month, what has transpired in AI is an astonishing pace of innovation. The deep seek and the whole operator effect has profound implication on the underlying infrastructure needed to power AI. While the barrier to entry to building AI models reduces substantially, investments will continue to be made and value will continue to shift up the stack. The clock speed at which we will need to adjust for major market developments will only increase moving forward. Um, one mantra which I keep saying is be bold on AI. What it means is AI is there's only two kinds of companies which will survive in the future. One is one who have the high level of dexterity for AI, and others who really are going to struggle for relevance. And that goes back to adopting agentic AI. What is agentic AI? If I ask what is agentic AI to a CEO or a CFO, their responses would differ based on what they feel, what it means. The meaning of agentic AI has not seeped in at the C level or even at mid management level today. So, if you ask me what is an agentic AI refers to a typical AI system that can autonomously take actions, make decisions, adapt to changing situations with minimal human interaction, right? So, to give you a couple examples here is like your self-driving cars, right? Based on the road conditions, based on the weather, whether it's raining or not, based on the traffic, or based on the speed which you drive, right? It automatically adjusts itself, right? That is the autonomous decision making which that vehicle is doing while it is driving itself. That's the agentic workflow, the agentic AI of this world. Other classic example, right? If I ask a simple question like, I want to travel to say Italy, what are the 10 things to do? If it just gives you 10 things to do and it stops there, that's not an agentic workflow. It is not making intelligent decisions for you. It is not it's a one-way response which you are getting. But if you ask the next question, build an itinerary for a 10-day trip to Italy, and I like seeing museums, and my budget is $5,000. If you add those parameters and it is conversational, it is making decisions based on certain criteria. It is more adapting to changing situations, right? Where you have the change in situation is your budget, the change in situation is you like museums, so on and so forth. That is agentic AI, and 2025 is going to be the year of agentic AI.
Great. I very much like your thought and point that we really need to be bold on AI. And I think with that brief description about agentic AI, it's clear where AI is heading because it's going to go beyond automation and now it is going into true intelligence. I think the traditional AI applications and solutions have definitely served us well, but let's be honest, it's limited. It follows a script, wait for input, and execute the pre-programmed tasks. But with agentic AI, I think it isn't just an AI that responds. I think it acts, it adapts, like you said, and I think in the coming years we're going to see more adoption of agentic AI, and that's exactly where organizations should also focus on. You mentioned some couple of examples, and I think whether it's customer service or even supply chain optimization, I think nearly every business function can potentially benefit from the agentic AI workflow transformation, because they serve as an intelligent advisory partners. They can automate tasks and documentation and all of most of the demands within the existing systems. So, with rapidly maturing AI capabilities, and when they're combined with the current business needs, I think the stage is really set for enterprises to explore and integrate agentic AI workflows. So, those who move decisively can secure better competitive advantages. And while compelling, I think integrating AI agents is not simple. It requires a strategic roadmap, spanning process mapping. You need to consider system integrations, even governance. I think even workforce reskilling as well. So, while you have helped us understand what agentic AI is, can you help us understand how can organizations integrate agentic AI for the day-to-day operations, or do you think there needs to be a cultural shift within the organization so that they can leverage and maximize the potential of agentic AI?
So when you try to integrate agentic AI into your enterprise, right? And by the way, agentic AI is not limited to an enterprise. Agentic AI is going to seep into your day-to-day lives, right? Whether you are brewing your coffee, whether you are washing your clothes, or your washing machine has agentic AI built in nowadays, right? So, or is going to have an agentic AI built in. But when you shift this to an enterprise level, as you mentioned, there's different functions which can take advantage. The big ones, and most of them are being talked around, is whether it's inventory optimization, whether it's customer service, right? But the large shift will happen when an agentic AI workflow can be bolted onto finance functions, right? Now, why is the upfront marketing, customer service, inventory optimizations, these are easy ones to solve. And when I say easy ones to solve, um, because they're easy from a safety and security perspective. As soon as you shift towards the right on the finance side, concerns of security come into place, safety comes into place, infrastructure comes into place, um, uh, reliability comes into place. So five things I keep telling the CEOs. By the way, before I go there, what on the CEOs, there was a survey done which was very interesting, by Cisco, and they talked to close to 2,000 CEOs, and 97% of the CEOs said that they were really excited about AI and agentic AI. Only 2% were prepared for it. So, what should a CEO do to prepare their enterprise for adopting agentic AI, right? Some of the challenges which you see is the computational cost, again, rolls up to infrastructure. The data privacy, again, very, very important, because if the data is made public, the chat GPTs and the Claudes and the llamas of the world is going to skim through it and start making decisions based on it. The third one is reliability or hallucination, right? That is the biggest factor, why people are a little bit scared. Um, Ethical and bias, right? And the last one I would say is adoption and ROI. One thing in the world of technology, there is, I was talking to a CEO and he said, in the world of technology, there is a concept of second move advantage. And there's an advantage of holding off rather than going headfirst into a space and trying to see if the spend is worth it or not. And second move advantage we have seen over the years, right? You take Hotmail, that was the first guy who made email, but they're not to be seen anywhere, right? You take Yahoo, first search engine, not to be seen anywhere. So, but everybody else has taken the second move advantage. The Gmails of the world have taken the second move advantage. The Microsoft exchanges in the email world has taken the second move advantage. Search engines like Google have taken the advantage. So they were not the first ones. They were on the sidelines. They were not the first ones. So one thing which keeps popping, the CEOs keep saying, asking is, should we wait and take advantage of being the second mover or jump in now? And my take is, if you don't jump in now, you will not be able to take advantage and train the models, because AI is all about training models, right? World with this world is going to move to a multi-model system, rather than having tens of models, which we are thinking last year. Now we are thinking of hundreds of models. Uh, Maybe next year when we talk again, it could be thousands of models. So with the cost curve going down, to train these models, I think this is the time for all CEOs to jump in at this point in time.
Very well. I think that's a really fascinating point that we have discussed as to how we can integrate agentic AI. And I think eventually it's about the mindset, like you just mentioned, that if they don't jump in now, if organizations don't leverage the power of agentic AI now, I don't think it would be easier for them to compete with the companies that have that advantage already. So, why definitely agentic AI has, it represents huge opportunities for efficiency and innovation. But eventually, when organizations embrace that, and that too in timely manner, I think that will help them unlock its full potential truly moving forward. If you talk about how enterprises are operating today, and especially today's era is fast paced and data driven. So from managing basic customer interaction to even analyzing market trends, businesses need systems that can navigate both structured and unstructured information. For the longest time, I think people have been using robotic process automation, but now with agentic AI, I think they can address the complexity and some of the limitations that probably RPA had, and it can help in automating end-to-end processes while adapting to changing requirements, because that's what agentic AI is. It's adaptable. So, how do you think that agentic AI has transformed the concept of automation altogether, across industries?
So if you look at RPA, right? RPA a few years ago, that was the most charming kid on the block, right? Where we were able to say, if you there's a human kind of a resource which can work 24/7, whereas real humans work 8 to 10 hours a day. So if you take an RPA model, you take that robot, you can run it practically for 20 to 24 hours, and it can do a lot of things. Now, that was mimicking what humans did, right? It was not adding intelligence on top of it. um, that's the difference between the RPA model which we used to build versus the agentic workflows which we are building, right? The key words in the agentic workflow are autonomous decision making, adapting to situations. None of these were part of RPA. Maybe a little bit of decision making based on a criteria you had to define upfront. No criteria which was undefined could be run by the RPA. The RPA would stop at that point in time, right? Now shift to an agentic AI. With agentic I can not only make decisions on the fly, but based on how my model is trained, how much data it is trained on, it can make decisions for you. That was never a thing in the last 5 years, right? Now, what has happened is most of the most of the chat GPTs of the world, or the Groks, or DeepSeek, they have scanned everything on the web, right? So all the public data is already the models are trained on. Think of it that way. If they are not, they'll be done by the end of the year. So where do we train our models on? What's going to happen and again, that's my perception, is I will build a private model for a client of mine. That model will be trained on that particular industry, that particular enterprise, and that particular company. And when it's fully trained, we are moving towards an open source model. I can say, hey, for a retail industry, I have trained my workflows. These are the 10 models which I've trained. And by the way, anybody in the retail space can use it. The power of open source, right? The power of not redoing anything or rebuilding from scratch will come in once the agentic workflows are being adapted by enterprises, are being trained by those enterprises, and then those trained models are available open source for other companies to leverage. That is going to be the power of agentic AI.
Great. I think that's a really interesting perspective as to how agentic AI will be transforming automation. And I was just reading across this study, which I mean, like you mentioned in your response, that agentic workflows, AI workflows are adaptable, and they don't. I mean, it's minimal human intervention. It's without human intervention. So I believe that type of decisions can be made quickly, and I think they can also empower real time and AI driven decisions. So while I was reading this study, it showed that it could help manufacturers save around 10 to 15% in their operating expenses, and saving around $30 million annually. So can you share some real world examples or case studies that probably it was at Riveron, as to how these AI agentic AI workflows enhance decision making and productivity?
So, two things, right? When we talk about manufacturing, retail, inventory based systems, there's a huge potential for cost savings. Like, for example, my agentic work, I am a retail store, I am an apparel store. The agentic AI, based on sales, based on season, based on the weather outside, and what is in the inventory, can actually order things automatically or put some things on sale automatically. For example, it's winter, but it's very hot. Nobody's going to buy jackets, right? It can automatically say, hey, the jackets are on sale or should be on sale now. So your inventory carrying cost, your holding cost will reduce drastically. Or if it's severe cold, it will automatically order some things which will sell fast in that winter, right? Apart from that, the whole manufacturing and the whole retail space is going to be optimized by how much leverage it can take based on inventory levels. But the biggest thing which we most people don't talk about is agentic AI workflows in healthcare, agentic AI, or even AI in healthcare is going to be huge. One of the most disruptions which will happen is going to be healthcare. We are talking about cost savings. We are talking about healthcare enterprises. We are talking about all of these things in traditional manner. But look at industries which have not been disrupted, and healthcare is one huge industry which is not disrupted. There's a study by Bristol Myers which I was looking at, where AI is now detecting diseases where doctors are not able to detect, right? There was a case where a doctor could not detect lung cancer. It was stage zero, not even stage one lung cancer for a patient, but AI did it because it had enough data to say a cell formation of a typical type which cannot be seen on a CT scan or an X-ray had started. But and a doctor can only see it when it reaches a certain point, whereas AI could get it before it could go to stage one, right? So that's where I'm thinking that globally it is impacting every person, whether we believe it or not.
Yeah, definitely. I think that makes a lot of sense when we're talking about um, how it can transform business operations and enhance decision making at the same time. Moving ahead, I want to shift the gears to another dimension here, where, of course, we have discussed that the agentic AI workflows have a lot of potential, and they can work adaptively, independently without human intervention. But I also believe that there are some significant challenges that can exist in the implementation because come on, hey, not every technology can be all glam and glitz. I'm sure that there's another side of the coin as well. So I believe that we can have security concerns, even data privacy issues. Can all of these things can pose some substantial risks in terms of adopting. So, what are the challenges do you think that organizations can face in terms of adopting agentic AI workflows, and how do you think they can address them?
I think the five, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be on data privacy, hallucination, reliability, ethical and bias. These are some of the four, top four or five, right? And then comes in adoption and ROI is uncertain and so on and so forth. Now, data privacy is going to be key. While we are talking of AI in all the right direction, right? Whether it's efficiency, whether it is intelligence, whether it is cost savings, there are characters and people who are using AI in a very, very negative connotation, right? There are scams which have happened because scamming is easy nowadays with AI. People can people can talk to your phone, get your voice sound bites, mimic your voice, and call anybody with that, right? So, with all good things, there are some negatives which come into play. Governments have to step in to bring in bills. Indian government, by the way, Modi government is doing great. They are bringing in bills to avoid, or actually anything AI needs to be verified by the government of India, right? The same way in the US, the last administration was working on passing a bill on um, ethical AI and what it means. Um, so again, it is beyond the industry where governments and stakeholders need to chime in and put in some boundaries on where AI can be leveraged. Else, apart from building efficiencies, we'll be in a totally different world of scam also. So that is my 2 cents there. But just wanted to add one more thing, that the total addressable market, Priya, for AI was 200, close to 200 billion in 2023-24. It is growing at 35 to 40% compounded. So in the next 3 to 5 years, it will be $1 trillion market. So when we are addressing $1 trillion market, the challenges of this rapid growth need to be taken care of. Skill is going to be a big gap. Apart from safety, security, and so on and so forth, how do you skill yourself? By the way, one somebody came to me last week when I was in India and said, "How do I become a good AI engineer?" Um, and the easy thing there was, what makes a really good AI engineer is really dealing with the non-deterministic, unpredictable aspect of AI, right? The big difference between writing code that's AI versus non-AI is that you really don't know how it's going to work. That's what AI is. You do not know how it's going to work. Whereas in the classical application, it was very formulaic approach. You have a certain things which go in and a certain output you expect. That's not the case with AI. We have to be patient enough to learn how to deal with the non-deterministical nature of AI. Um, so that is where I think skill is going to be a big gap. Not many people know what an AI engineer, or how do I skill myself as an AI engineer, means. So again,
Right. And yes, reskilling your workforce with the changing trends is definitely a big challenge and a big hurdle for organizations when it comes to adapting themselves with the changing trends. And you also mentioned about how this particular industry will be growing in the coming years. But one last question, Vikram, if you can wrap up, how do you see the future of agentic AI workforce, or what are certain trends that you think will shape the future of agentic AI?
as I said, be bold on AI, right? Absolutely be bold on AI. 2025, if there's one thing you want to take away with AI, is it's going to be the world of agents. The world is going to be an agentic world as we move forward. Companies should invest in infrastructure with emphasis on safety, security, and ethical use of AI. Um, Skill your people, identify the business cases which can be converted into AI. Do not wait for being the second move advantage. There's no second move advantage on AI. The more your enterprise gets trained internally on the processes, on the how to's, and identify where can I implement an agentic AI, the faster you will be able to adapt it. If you are not doing it, companies are going to struggle for their relevance. And believe me, 25, 26, next 2 years are going to see a drastic change, which we have not seen in the last decade. I keep talking about the second move advantage. The other classic example was Nokia was the first phone to come in, but Nokia is nowhere to be seen with iPhones and Androids taking over. So people need to understand that where there is hardware, you may have a second move advantage, but where there is a self-learning internal agentic workflow which can give you efficiency, you cannot wait on the sidelines. You will be totally irrelevant or non-existent if you wait for another 2 years to adapt to this fast moving change.
Right. I think what's particularly exciting is how this approach, the agentic AI, is bridging the gap between AI and human-like problem solving. By having the ability to adapt, reason, and take action, businesses can streamline their operations, improve their decision making, and of course unlock new levels of automation that weren't possible before. But of course, I think with greater autonomy comes greater responsibility, which brings us to the crucial aspects of ensuring security and considering the ethical viewpoints, and all of these should be addressed as this technology evolves. Well, thank you so much, Vikram. It was a pleasure having you with us on a podcast today, and you really helped us understand that agentic AI is something which business leaders should get on the bandwagon right now and implement them so that they can position themselves at the forefront of this technological revolution. Thank you so much, Vikram. It was pleasure having you on a podcast today.
No, the pleasure was mine, Priya. It was a great discussion. Really appreciate you having me on this podcast.
Great. Thank you so much, Vikram. So this is for our listeners. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcast, and you can view all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.